The morning sun spilled over Maplewood Lane, painting the cul-de-sacs in golden hues. But for Harold Baxter, the cheerful chirping of a sparrow outside his window was no harbinger of peace. It was a siren of impending chaos. Beneath that sparrow, parked with the audacity of a dictator's motorcade, was Marilyn Stokes' silver minivan, Gloria. It sat squarely on Firethorn Road, the narrow gravel lifeline for emergency vehicles to reach the back houses of their suburban enclave. Harold's coffee turned bitter in his mouth. At 8:03 a.m., with the neighborhood still rubbing sleep from its eyes, Gloria was a gleaming monument to Marilyn's relentless disregard for rules and safety. Harold, a 52-year-old accountant with a penchant for birdwatching and a temper that flared only under extreme provocation, stared at the minivan through his kitchen window. His favorite mug, emblazoned with world's okayest fixer-upper, trembled in his hand. Marilyn, the iron-fisted queen of the Maplewood Homeowners Association, had a history of tormenting him. Last month, she'd left a typed note laminated, no less under his windshield wiper, declaring his garden gnome, Percival, a quarter-inch too tall per HOA bylaws. Percival, a weathered heirloom from Harold's late father, had endured worse insults, but this was personal. Marilyn measured him with a ruler that looked like it belonged in a forensics lab. Harold had ranted to his wife, Ellen, over dinner that night. Ellen, a practical woman with a knack for diffusing his storms, sipped her Pinot Grigio and quipped, "Did you offer Percival a tiny lawyer?" Harold hadn't laughed. "She also said our lawn lacks textural uniformity." "Who talks like that?" Ellen's reply was swift. "Someone who'd rather die than park legally." Now, Gloria's tires kissed the Fireline, blocking access to homes like old Mrs. Larson's, whose heart condition made every second of an ambulance's delay a gamble with fate. A brush fire had scorched the neighborhood's edge last summer, and Harold still smelled the smoke when he closed his eyes. Fire trucks had barreled down Firethorn Road then. Marilyn, conveniently, was on a Caribbean yoga retreat, her minivan safely garaged. Peering out again, Harold spotted Marilyn emerging from her house in a mint-green tracksuit that screamed, "I'm above your petty concerns." She carried a dainty watering can, tending to her HOA-approved petunias blooming beside Gloria. She patted the minivan's hood like it was a loyal steed. That was the last straw. Harold flung open his window, leaning into the crisp morning air. "Marilyn, think Firethorn Road's your private parking lot again." His voice was a controlled simmer. Marilyn turned with the grace of a monarch disturbed mid-decree. "Good morning, Harold," she said, her tone sharp enough to slice bread. "Gloria's on community land, as you know. She's just soaking up the morning breeze. Who's it hurting for a few minutes?" "A few minutes?" Harold's grip tightened on the windowsill. "Yesterday, your few minutes was a 3-hour book club meeting in that van. What if Mrs. Larson needs an ambulance? What if my house catches fire?" Marilyn's lips curled into a smile that could curdle milk. "Honestly, Harold, such drama. I'd hear sirens and move." Eventually lit a fuse in Harold's chest. His vision blurred red. The sparrow fled its perch. "Right?" he muttered, slamming the window shut. "Eventually isn't good enough, Marilyn." He stormed to the kitchen, nearly knocking over Percival, now safely indoors after Marilyn's gnome-height edict. Ellen, scrolling her tablet, looked up. "Let me guess Gloria's holding court again," she said eventually. "Ellen." The gall. Harold paced their cramped kitchen. Ellen sighed, a sound heavy with years of his HOA rants. "Deep breaths, Harold. Picture a calm lake." He snorted. "My calm lake's got a silver minivan parked in it, declaring itself emperor." "I'm done," he declared, a wild glint in his eye. Ellen's coffee paused midair. "Done how? You're not stuffing Gloria's tailpipe with foam, are you?" "We agreed that's a felony." Harold grinned. "Bigger. I'm thinking horsepower. A blade." Ellen's eyes widened. "You're not taking Old Rusty to that minivan." Old Rusty, their retired pickup, had once nudged a neighbor's mailbox into oblivion during a storm. "Rusty's gone," Harold said, already on his phone. "I'm upgrading." He dialed Big AL's heavy-duty rentals. A voice like gravel answered. "AL's. You break it, you buy it." "Al, it's Harold Baxter on Maplewood. Got a landscaping emergency. Something assertive available." Al chuckled. "Baxter, figured you'd call after that fence fiasco. Got the Hornet, a compact dozer with attitude. Perfect for stubborn weeds." When do you need it? Now, Harold said. Cash on delivery. An hour later, the Hornet arrived on a flatbed driven by Joey, a kid with tattoos suggesting he'd seen worse than suburban squabbles. The Dozer was smaller than Harold imagined, but gleamed with a menacing steel blade. Joey handed over the keys. Forward, back, blade up, down. Don't drown. Harold hates wet Dozers. Harold nodded. Just some stubborn roots, Joey. Ellen, now clutching a conflict resolution pamphlet, muttered, Harold, try I feel statements. Marilyn, I feel unsafe when you block the fire line. Harold scoffed. My I feel statement is, I'm losing the will to live near this woman. Outside, Marilyn lounged beside Gloria, reading Mastering Your Suburb magazine, oblivious. Harold climbed into the Hornet's cab. It smelled of diesel and bad decisions. The controls were a maze, but he found the go lever. All right, Hornet, he whispered. Let's dance with Gloria. The engine roared, shaking his bones. Marilyn jolted, her magazine fluttering like startled birds. Harold Baxter. Turn that racket off, she screeched. He gave a mock salute and pushed the lever. The Hornet lurched, tracks grinding asphalt. Marilyn's eyes widened from irritation to terror as Harold guided the Dozer toward Gloria. Stop. That's my baby, she yelled, her lawn chair collapsing as she flailed. The blade kissed Gloria's bumper with a soft thunk, then a screech of tortured metal. Harold angled the van off the fire line, onto Marilyn's pristine lawn, grazing her prize azaleas. The symphony of destruction crunching fiberglass, shattering glass, squealing tires filled the air. Gloria landed half in the azaleas, a crumpled silver heap. Marilyn shrieked, You barbarian. I'll sue you to Mars. Harold cut the engine. Fireline's clear, Marilyn. You're welcome. Neighbors emerged, curtains twitching. Mr. Jenkins, who'd battled Marilyn over his bird feeder, raised his coffee in a solemn toast. Mrs. Larson blew a discreet kiss. Ellen's voice crackled through Harold's phone. Harold, Mrs. Carter says you've snapped. There's a Dozer, a wrecked minivan, and azalea carnage. Explain. Slowly. It was for safety, honey, Harold tried. The fire line's clear. Ellen's reply was icy. I'm calling Frank. Our lawyer, not your poker buddy. Sirens wailed. 2 patrol cars screeched up. Officer Daniels, young and earnest, and Sergeant Hayes, a grizzled veteran, surveyed the scene. Hayes drawled, Haven't seen a mess like this since Jimmy Tate tried parking a tractor at the county fair. Harold explained, It's about safety, Sarge. That van's been blocking the fire line for months. Marilyn charged, intercepted by Daniels. He's a terrorist, she wailed. Gloria's ruined. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Warnings issued, Baxter? Harold nodded. Emails, complaints, polite talks all ignored. Ellen arrived, thrusting a business card at Harold. Frank's coming. He says you've got a reputation for architectural mishaps. Frank Peterson, their lawyer, later heard Harold's tale in his oak-paneled office. You've outdone the Flamingo fiasco, Frank said, referencing a prior HOA spat. Then, his assistant buzzed. Fire Chief Malone for Harold. Malone revealed Marilyn had ignored fire department warnings about Firethorn Road. Ellen, digging through HOA bylaws, found a clause allowing any means necessary to clear emergency routes after 2 warnings. Frank grinned. Harold, you're an idiot, but Ellen's a genius. This gives us leverage. The DA offered a plea, a fine, 200 hours of trail-clearing community service, and a macrame anger management class. Harold became Dozer Dan, a local legend. Anonymous gifts a toy Dozer, craft beer, a sketch of the Hornet piled up. Marilyn, now a pariah, parked her new car in her garage. Firethorn Road stayed clear. Weeks later, Harold, in an orange vest, pruned park trails. His supervisor, Rita, smirked. Nice blade work, Baxter. Got a Dozer for my neighbor's hedge? Harold laughed. Stick to letters, Rita. My legal bills could buy a yacht. At home, Ellen kissed him goodbye. No more Dozers, Dan. He winked. Macrame's teaching me knots. Could tie a car to a lamppost next time. Firethorn Road gleamed, a quiet victory. Harold, Shears and Nationwide, was no longer just an accountant, was the man who'd faced injustice and won, one blade at a time. What do you think about Harold's actions? Was his bulldozer rebellion a justified stand against unfair rules or a reckless act of violence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on justice, community disputes, and where to draw the line.